Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Sustainable Futures Report for Friday the 17th of March. I'm Anthony Day. I've recently had the opportunity to talk to Christophe Bourguignat about insurance in the context of natural disasters and the climate crisis. We all rely on insurance to some extent. Here's what we discussed. Today we're talking about insurance, and my guest is Christophe Bourguignat, co-founder and CEO of Zelros. Christophe, welcome to the Sustainable Futures Report.
Hello, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
We live in an age where natural disasters seem to hit the headlines almost every day. And at the time of this recording, the true horror of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria is becoming apparent, with thousands of people dead, hundreds of thousands homeless, infrastructure, homes, businesses, all destroyed. Let's not forget the enormous devastation which natural events can cause. As I say, we're hearing more and more about extreme weather, about events linked to climate change. Christophe, is that really an upward trend, or are we just hearing more reports?
Yeah, if we look at the figures, Anthony, for example, in the year 2021 alone, the losses due to natural disasters worldwide represented $280 billion. $280 billion. It's not a record because it's only the third largest year in terms of losses in the past decades. But still, we see a growing number. But more important is to analyze on these losses. Which part is covered by insurance, and which part is not covered. So currently, roughly only 40% is insured. So it's not the majority. But what is striking on what should also make us react is that the proportion of what we call the protection gap, so the proportion of uninsured events on losses is actually growing. It doubled according to Swiss Re Institute. It doubled in the past 20 years. So this protection gap is really a trend that is enlarging, and that's where insurance has to focus in the coming years.
So why are people uninsured? Is it just that they can't afford the premiums, or is it that the insurance industry is seeing that certain risks are uninsurable? So are they raising the premiums? Are they actually excluding certain classes of risk?
So I believe it is a multi-factor reason. So that's true that there are some risks that today are not at all insurable any longer. By the way, it started in the US. Maybe some of you have heard that in some geographies, some insurers definitely stopped to insure some houses that are too close to flooding areas. So here I think insurers have to be transparent and also have to prove pedagogy to explain that insurance can only work if the risk is split among different subscribers. But if the risk is certain, it's very difficult to insure on. We are speaking here about natural disasters, but there is also on another topic another type of risk, which is cyber risk, cybersecurity, cyber attacks, which is also a brand new type of risk that really makes insurance think about it. So that's for the insurance part. Now, regarding consumers like you, on myself, on all of us, I think we have to progress in terms of literacy, in terms of understanding what are my personal risks. We know that we tend to underestimate, for example, the outcome of a risk that is very rare, and also being aware of this, and also have a better literacy on understanding the covers behind the insurance products is something very important. By the way, in the financial industry, you know about savings, about preparing your retirement. There have been a lot of efforts in the past year to raise the bar in terms of literacy and to empower the population in taking a more meaningful decisions. I think in the insurance, we are only at the beginning of this trend.
So you're suggesting that insurance companies are informing consumers, domestic clients, or are they informing businesses and commercial clients about how to minimize and manage risk?
It's both. It's both. Both lines of business exist. On both line of business must be protected, but it is also the duty on the role of insurer to better prevent risk, to better educate the policyholders, and to better explain the benefits of an insurance product. Because if you think about it, as a consumer, you don't buy insurance like shoes or any consumer goods. It's something complex to understand how you consume it. You don't use it right now. You use it for a hypothetical reason in the future. So all this type of consumption has to be developed on the role of insurance is very important on this topic.
Now, you talk about the protection gap. Is that partly due to the fact that people are underinsured, or that they have the wrong sort of insurance policies, or what's behind that?
Yeah, I think, as of course, population is richer mechanically for a same insurance event. Let's take, for example, a thunderstorm or wildfire or floods. The goods that are damaged by themselves between 10 years ago and now, even with the same occurrence of risk mechanically, the losses are higher, even if the protection is the same. If you, on top of that, add a frequency of events that is accelerated, and probably also a part in monthly spendings of individuals, insurance probably has not in the past years been something that has increased because probably consumer spent more money on leisure, on maybe some media or some consumers. This proportion has been reduced. On we need in the future to make it again a larger part of spending. Unfortunately, because this protection gap has to be closed.
Right, well, let's move on to talk about Zelros. Now, as I understand it, you're using artificial intelligence to help determine the best insurance products for individual consumers. So how does Zelros help the consumer?
Yeah, so if we step back, so we see a need for protection that is growing. We see an offer protections that is larger and larger. You have PNC, property and casualty type of insurance, health insurance, life insurance. You have legal insurance, and that's for the personal lines. And if you also are an individual worker, you also need professional insurance. So more and more type of insurance, and within one specific insurance, let's say life accident, you also have generally a lot of different covers, a lot of different options, and depending on your lifestyle, are you more rural type of policyholder, or are you more urban? Do you have children? If or yes or no? If yes, at what age are they? If you look at the picture, it's very complex to match your individual need with one specific cover, and it's complex for the policyholder, and it's also complex for the agent or the advisor, even if the agent is very specialized and very professional on specific covers. He cannot be proficient in all type of insurance. And also to complexify even worse, even more the situation, you also have more and more insurance that are distributed through digital channels, so not only agents but digital, and so that's where we enter the game, based on data about the policyholder, data about risks, data also about specific information, geolocalized information, or climate information, or algorithms are able to match the cover, and more than that, also to explain the benefit to the policyholder on why this cover should be meaningful in its specific context.
So does that mean I can go onto the Zelros website and put in all my details, and it will come back with recommendations as the sort of insurance that I ought to have? Or is that something that the agent does?
Yeah, it's more the agent, and you will be exposed to Zelros recommendations as a policyholder when you connect to your self-care portal of your insurer, for example, to get information about the progress of a claim, or get a certificate. Then during this touch point, you will be informed. It can be a prevention message. It can be an additional cover message specifically for your case. So as a policyholder, it's more comfortable because you have messages that are more meaningful in your context. As an insurer, you manage to better match the risk with the cover and also the price. So at the end of the day, it's also a better pricing for everyone, and so that's how it works.
So there are a number of stages then. The first of all is the selection or the advice of the type of insurance, and then when you decide to take up the policy, it manages the policy and maintains the record and assists with claims if there should be claims. So you've got a living file then, as long as you are a policyholder, if I understand.
Yes, definitely. All along the policyholder life cycle, from the research of a cover to its subscription, down to the claim. That's where algorithm, and particularly our algorithms, are working. So we are in the category of what we call tech for insurers. So our customers are legacy and incumbents on insurers that need to become more efficient and more proactive, and more specific with their customers, and so they embed our algorithms into their distribution channels.
The system will identify the type of insurance products that an individual consumer will need. Does it also recommend specific providers?
So yes, the technology is able indeed not only to to provide, the insurance product, but also services. For example, we know that there is a big thing that is at stake for the coming decades, which is population aging. For example, so of course, insurers are also good providers to propose additional services to help this kind of population.
Right. So if I go in and I look for a policy and Zelros recommends a policy for me and also recommends a particular company and I decide to buy that, is Zelros getting a commission for that?
No, that's not our business model. Our business model is really a software provider business model with what we call software as a service. So the more agents are using our solution, on the more we earn more money, or the more recommendations are made, on the more money we are.
So agents pay a subscription to use it. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes. I see. So that's how it works. So therefore, effectively, it is a whole of market solution. It's not a tied solution by any means.
Yeah. Totally. And then this insurance distribution has also various flavors. So there are independent agents that work with several carriers, but some of them are tied to a given carrier. And other are also, there are salary networks, but we adapt to all type of situations.
Right. Well, looking at the wider context, as we've seen this week, natural disasters cause tremendous damage, and hopefully people are protected by insurance. But as you've said, an awful lot of people are not protected by insurance. Is there any way in which cover can be extended, improved, or is it going to be too expensive for people, particularly in the developing world, to protect themselves against these sorts of situations?
No, definitely that's a big challenge. We see some initiatives from insurers. For example, recently AXA, the global insurer, launched what they called a dedicated inclusive insurance branch. So it's a line of business that they create from zero, specifically dedicated to a population that are under insured, that are this kind of population that don't have access to insurance. On the goal of this new branch is to create new insurance products that are more suitable for this population. And back to our initial conversation, that's where it's a bit a long tail, but that's where also the protection gap will need to be reached. Also in these millions and dozens of millions and hundreds of millions all around the world that will need protection. To make an analogy, it will be a bit like microfinance. Where very small loans didn't exist a few years ago and now exist. Probably microinsurance will be something that will be developed in the future.
Well, that's a very interesting idea. I think the truth is we live in challenging times. We live in challenging times in all directions. And it's interesting that there are signs that the insurance industry is adapting. Every organization has to adapt. And I won't start by talking about fossil fuels. But it's interesting that insurance is making steps to deal with the situations for a wider range of people. So, Christophe, thank you very much for talking to the Sustainable Futures Report. That's been a very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Anthony.
And you can find out more about Zelros at zelros.com, zelros.com. That's it for this special edition of the Sustainable Futures Report. I'm Anthony Day, and there will be a regular edition of the Sustainable Futures Report next Wednesday, as usual. Next week I shall be talking about micromobility, 15-minute communities and the Svalbard Seed Vault, among other things. Thanks for listening this time, and I hope you'll join me next week. Bye for now.